stories of HR.
The stories HR tells itself.
I mean, usually when we measure things in business, there's this expectation of precision. It's like engineering.
Right, yeah. It's very binary, very countable.
Yeah, you check the warehouse inventory, the system shows 50 boxes left on the pallet, and the manager just points and says, well, there it is.
Exactly. The physical world gives us these very comforting, highly visible metrics.
But then you step into the world of human productivity, specifically evaluating knowledge work, and suddenly that counting machine is not working anymore.
Yes. It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Right.
Because when the product is thought, how do you even put a ruler next to it?
You really can't. Today, we are tackling the 8th episode of The Lies of HR.
A great one to dig into.
Our mission today is going after this deeply ingrained myth that hours drive output.
Yeah, it's a myth that dictates the rhythm of almost everyone's daily life, yet it falls apart the absolute second you apply any real scrutiny to it.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core fantasy we're dealing with today is what Martin calls single number thinking.
Right.
It's this dangerous, almost seductive idea that complex human cognition, problem solving, can somehow be boiled down to a single, easily trackable metric.
It's the desire for that 50-box inventory count you mentioned, but applied to human brain power. Management wants a clean spreadsheet, right? So they force a really messy reality into a rigid box.
Which means I want you to think about how you are evaluated at work today.
That's a scary thought for some people.
Oh, absolutely. Are you genuinely being paid for your brilliant ideas, your strategy, your actual impact on the business? Or are you really just being paid for the amount of time your little status bubble stays green on your company's chat app?
That green dot has a lot to answer for, honestly.
It haunts us all.
It does. But to understand why we rely on it so much, we have to look at the original metric, which is the punch clock.
The ultimate factory relic.
Literally a relic. It was designed for the Industrial Revolution. And to be fair to it, when you apply it to a factory, the math actually holds up well.
Right, because on an assembly line, an hour standing at a stamping machine produces exactly an hour's worth of stamped metal widgets.
Time equals widgets. The input of time directly correlates to the output of value. It's clean.
But the moment you take that industrial-era punch clock and smash it over the head of knowledge work, it just stops working.
Completely. I mean, think about a marketing strategist or a financial planner or a software developer.
An hour of them just staring at a computer screen tells leadership absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. It tells you nothing about what was created, what brilliant solution was conceptualized, or, frankly, what disastrous mistake was prevented.
I always think of it this way. Measuring a software developer by the hour is like paying a novelist by how many times they hit the keyboard.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right, you don't get a masterpiece. You just get a million words of absolute garbage because you're incentivizing the wrong action entirely.
That's it exactly. When you manage purely by hours, you do not incentivize good work. You just reward the art of looking busy.
Which is an art form, let's be honest.
Oh, people are very good at it. But you're paying for the performance of work rather than the work itself.
Isn't the alternative, just measuring results and ditching the clock entirely, isn't that exactly what everyone wants? We hear people complain about the 9 to 5 all the time.
Constantly, yeah.
So just telling me what you need done, letting me do it, and leaving me alone, that sounds like total freedom.
It sounds like paradise on paper. But that brings us to the fashionable corporate alternative to the punch clock, which is ROWE.
ROWE.
Yes, it stands for Results-Only Work Environment. It was originally developed by Callie Ressler and Jody Thompson and famously piloted at Best Buy years ago.
Right. The Best Buy pilot is pretty well known in HR circles.
It is. And the cold truth about ROWE is that without incredibly clear boundaries, it is a psychological trap.
Wait, a psychological trap? I would think ditching the clock would lower stress, not create a trap.
You really have to look at how the human brain processes task completion. Evolutionarily, we are wired to understand the concept of done.
Like you build the shelter, you're done.
Exactly. You forage the berries, you're done. But in modern knowledge work, your inbox is never truly empty. Without the clock, the required output becomes theoretically infinite.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's literally always another report to run or a draft to revise.
Always another competitor to research.
Ah, I see the logic here. The punch clock for all its terrible industrial-era flaws, actually provides a hard stop.
Yes. At 5 o'clock, you leave. The machine is physically off. You have permission from the system to stop being a worker.
But in a pure results-only system applied loosely, that boundary just vanishes.
Precisely. Picture a data analyst. It's like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. They are sitting on their couch trying to watch a movie, but their brain is just whispering, you know, you could pull up your laptop and get ahead on the Q3 forecast right now.
Because they're only judged on results, so they look really good tomorrow.
Right. Producing more output feels like the only way to prove their worth in the tribe. So the lack of a schedule isn't freedom, it's just this infinite void.
And human beings will fill that void with anxiety.
Every single time. We need markers of our standing. If we don't have hours to point to, we just run on a treadmill of perpetual output. ROW only works if you have crystal clear goals, regular feedback, and genuine accountability about what done actually means.
So applied loosely, it fails spectacularly.
Yeah, it does. What's fascinating here is that both of these extremes, the rigid punch clock and the boundless results-only void, they fundamentally do the exact same thing.
They extract more from the worker.
Exactly. They just use a different metric to justify the extraction.
Okay, so if the punch clock is broken and the results-only system is a trap, they're basically both failing to measure knowledge work accurately.
Miserably failing.
And because they are fundamentally broken, they are completely buckling right now because a massive accelerant has just been dropped into the ecosystem. Enter generative AI.
Oh, AI is the ultimate stress test for these broken measurement models.
It really is.
The Avanti 2025 Technology at Work report gives us a really stark look at this. The data there reveals that 42% of office workers are now using generative AI at work.
So almost half the office.
Almost half. But roughly 1 in 3 of those users, 32% to be exact, keeps it a complete secret from their employer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If this tech is supposed to be a massive productivity booster, why are a third of the people using it hiding it like contraband?
Because of the trend failures we just talked about. Let's look at the punch clock failure first. Imagine that analyst has a horrible Thursday report.
The one everyone dreads doing.
Right. Every week, it takes them 6 hours of tedious, mind-numbing formatting. Now, they discover an enterprise AI tool that can do it perfectly in 1 hour.
A huge win.
You'd think so. But if they operate under a punch clock mentality, what happens when they tell leadership?
The boss definitely doesn't say, wow, great job, take Friday afternoon off. They say, oh, you just freed up 5 hours. Here are 4 more cross-departmental projects for you to handle.
Efficiency is actively punished with volume. So workers behave rationally, they pocket the saved time.
Meaning they finish the report in an hour, and for the next 5 hours, they just wiggle the mouse to keep their chat status green.
Exactly, the secret wiggle.
We're forced to perform the theater of work because the system demands the appearance of hours. It literally sabotages the exact productivity revolution the companies claim they are desperate for.
It absolutely does. But let's look at the other side. What happens to that same AI-using analyst in a results-only work environment?
Well, if I'm purely measured on output and I can suddenly do a 6-hour report in 1 hour, I'm guessing my quota just goes through the roof.
We call that failure the speed up. Leadership sees you can do 1 report in an hour, so they say, fantastic, we need 6 of those by Friday now.
Ouch.
Yeah. AI is constantly sold to us as freedom from drudgery, but under a results-only model, it just cranks the treadmill up to an all-out sprint.
That sounds exhausting. You're basically taking an 8-hour workload, stripping out the mundane formatting tasks that actually give your brain a rest, and cramming 12 hours of pure, deep cognitive strain into that same day.
It is a fast track to burnout. You are doing the high-level brain-draining part of the job continuously with no breaks.
So measuring time leads to this weird, secretive mouse-wiggling theater, and measuring pure output leads to this terrifying burnout speed-up, which means single-number thinking has to go.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, how do we fix the container of work? We have to abandon these extremes, but how?
We have to actively redesign work through 5 specific moves.
Okay, lay them on me.
Move number 1 is to define outcomes and boundaries together.
Okay, wait, I need to stop you there.
Yeah.
Because if you give me a massive complex project, but you also put a strict 5 p.m. fence around my day, I'm going to panic.
Totally understandable.
The math doesn't work, How am I supposed to finish everything if I'm not allowed to work late?
That is exactly why they have to be defined together. It cannot be a one-sided mandate where the manager piles on work and just says, hey, make sure you log off at 5.
Right.
The manager and the employee have to actually agree on what a realistic time frame looks like. A leader needs to say, I need this analysis by Friday, and I expect you to be logged off by 5:30.
And if it doesn't fit?
If the scope of the project doesn't fit into those hours, we're going to cut the scope, not your evenings. An expectation without a boundary is just unlimited work wearing a nice name.
That makes a lot of sense. Scope has to be negotiated with time. But that assumes everything we do is incredibly important, which leads into move 2, right?
Yes. Move 2 is protecting the team from the always-on trap by championing the concept of good enough.
Which is incredibly hard for high achievers. Everyone wants to slay the perfectionism dragon, but nobody wants to be the one handing in a B- project.
It's very uncomfortable, but it's vital for preserving cognitive load. We have to kill the obsession with infinite polish for low-value tasks.
Give me an example.
Think about an internal weekly status update. If it's just going to 3 people who are going to skim it while eating a sandwich at their desks, it doesn't need custom graphics. It doesn't need to read like a Pulitzer-winning essay.
Functional completion. Just check the box and move on.
Exactly. Leaders have to explicitly tell their people which tasks only need to be functionally complete and which tasks actually deserve deep perfectionist focus. Giving people permission to hand in good enough work prevents burnout.
So we have boundaries, and we've dialed back the perfectionism on busy work. Move 3 is about setting humane expectations based on the average capable worker, not the outlier.
Yes.
But I have a real pushback on this one.
Let's hear it.
Let's say we have an employee on the team, Sarah. Sarah is brilliant. She finds a clever shortcut using an AI tool, and she takes a standard 2-hour task and does it in 10 minutes.
Okay.
As a manager, shouldn't I make that 10-minute mark the new baseline for everyone? Why would I let the rest of the team take 2 hours when Sarah just proved it can be done in 10 minutes? Isn't that just bad business to ignore the efficiency?
This raises an important question about human psychology and team dynamics. Research on social comparison theory shows us exactly why that approach is not good. You absolutely should not make Sarah's 10 minutes the universal benchmark.
But why? It's proof of concept. The tool works.
Because holding up an outlier as the universal benchmark completely demoralizes the wider team.
Think about what you're doing. You are taking an extraordinary, highly specific achievement by one person who maybe has a unique skill set or found a highly specific prompt, and you're turning it into the bare minimum for survival for everyone else.
Oh, so instead of the team feeling inspired by Sarah, they just feel like they're suddenly failing at a job they were perfectly good at yesterday.
It breeds massive resentment. It erodes well-being. You have to set role-appropriate expectations against the average capable worker, not the fastest runner who happens to have found a clever shortcut.
Which brings us right back to the Vivanti problem. Because if I'm Sarah and I know you're going to use my 10-minute shortcut to punish my coworkers by raising their quotas, I'm absolutely going to keep my AI uses secret.
Exactly.
So how do we get people to innovate out in the open?
That is move 4. Reward efficiency with trust. If someone's skill or their clever use of AI saves them 3 hours on a Thursday, you cannot immediately fill those 3 hours with new tasks. You have to let them keep a portion of it.
You must let them log off early. Let them spend that time learning a new skill or exploring another tool.
Because giving time back for learning creates actual loyalty.
Yeah.
If innovating just buys you more exhausting work, no one will ever innovate.
The company loses the entire benefit of the technology because it just stays hidden in the shadows.
Yeah.
You have to trust that value is being delivered even when someone isn't visibly suffering at their desk for 40 hours.
Right.
And that leads to the final move, move 5. Use input data to support, not surveil.
And surveillance can get intense.
Yeah.
Keystroke logging, taking random screenshots of employees' monitors.
It's deeply toxic. Look, understanding your team's workload is just good management. You need to know who is overwhelmed and who has bandwidth. It's even a legal requirement in many countries.
Sure.
But the moment a manager measures that by installing bossware, tracking mouse movements, or pinging an employee the second their chat status goes idle for 5 minutes, they have completely failed.
Because they haven't innovated at all. Measuring someone by mouse clicks is just rebuilding the 1920s factory punch clock, but with a creepier digital interface.
Exactly. And when you surveil people, they stop thinking creatively. They just start performing repetitive keystrokes to satisfy the algorithm.
True support looks entirely different then.
It looks like a one-on-one meeting where the manager asks, "Hey, what is blocking your progress this week? Do we need to move any deadlines to protect your deep work time?"
Support is focused on removing friction in the work itself, not monitoring the physical location of the worker's hands on a keyboard.
Exactly.
So we have these 5 moves. Set boundaries with scope, embrace good enough, benchmark to the average, reward efficiency with trust, and support instead of surveil.
That's the playbook.
It sounds amazing in theory. But I have to ask, is this actually realistic at scale? Because it requires massive trust and, frankly, a total rewiring of corporate culture. Is anyone actually doing this?
It is incredibly realistic, and it is currently being proven on a global scale. We are seeing organizations rethink the actual structure of the work week to reflect these exact principles.
The ultimate proof of concept.
Yes, the global 4-day week trials that ran from 2024 through 2026.
Oh, I've been following these trials. The data coming out of them is mixed, though.
Companies participating in these trials are achieving comparable and very often better output while working roughly 32-hour weeks. But we need to be careful, as it may not work for everyone.
Better output in less time sounds great.
Yes. And concurrently, they are seeing sharply lower rates of burnout and staff turnover.
Now, I want to clarify something here, because it's really easy to look at those dates, 2024 to 2026, and assume this is all just the magic of technology. Generative AI isn't magically doing 20% of the work so everyone gets to go home on Thursdays, right?
No, AI is just one factor that is increasingly discussed as helping make these shorter weeks feasible.
Right. It's an accelerant, not the whole solution.
That is a vital distinction. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the real reason output doesn't drop when hours are cut isn't just because of an algorithm. It's because of intentional redesign.
What do you mean?
The traditional 5-day, 40-hour work week was always, at least partially, a container. And what happens to an empty container?
We fill it. We fill it to the absolute brim.
We fill it with recurring meetings that have no agendas. We fill it with synchronous status updates that, frankly, could have been an asynchronous email.
We fill it with the theater of looking productive.
Exactly. When organizations successfully move to a 4-day week, they don't just chop off Friday and hope for the best. They deliberately strip out that waste.
So they enforce deep work blocks. They cancel the useless meetings.
They let technology handle the actual drudgery, but more importantly, they give people their time back with real defined structure. And when you remove the friction and stop measuring the mouse wiggles, people just do better work in less time.
So what does this all mean for you? Look at your own week. Look at your calendar for tomorrow. Out of your 40 hours, how much is actual core execution of valuable work?
And how much is just filling the container because the clock on the wall demands it?
Work must be intentionally designed. That is the great lesson we take from all of this. We have to abandon the fantasy of the single metric.
Because the brain is not a stamping machine, and time is not a proxy for value.
It really isn't. We have to clearly define what valuable work actually looks like, and at the exact same time, we have to set humane limits on the human cost of producing it.
Couldn't have said it better.
Well, learner, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We've dismantled the factory push clock. We've navigated the psychological trap of the results-only void, and hopefully, we've given you a new lens to look at the reality of your own workday.
It's a lot to process, but it's worth it.
Definitely. But before we go, I want to leave you with one last thing to mull over. Just imagine if tomorrow your employer permanently deleted your punch clock, your chat status, and your calendar and told you they were only going to evaluate you on the impact of your single best idea this month. Honestly, would you feel liberated, or would you be terrified of the void?
That's another comfortable lie, told straight. If you want the next one the moment it's published, sign up at liesofhr.com. Sit with this one, argue with it, and come back for more.
Lies of HR.
The stories HR tells itself.